Since the moment I've become interested in vintage lenses, I wanted to get my hands on famous Canon FDs. In the previous episodes, I tested Carl Zeiss Jena and contact Zeiss lenses. You can find the links in the description. I love those lenses equally. The Jena has more character and contact Zeiss more contrast, and they're also more neutral. And now it's finally the time to test Canon FD with my Fujifilm XH2S and see the results. I don't know much about the history of Canon FD lenses, but based on my research, I found that there are 3 versions of the FDs: SC, SSC, and NFD. SC is the earliest version. SC stands for spectra coating, SSC is in the middle, stands for super spectra coating, and NFD or new FD is the latest version that features plastic body and supposedly also has SSC coating. I decided to go with SSC version with breech lock mount. They were produced in 1970s, have good build quality and look very nice. Of course, with all vintage lenses, there are some expensive ones and some affordable ones. So I decided to buy 24mm f2.8, 50mm f1.4, and later on I found an amazing deal on 35-105 f3.5 zoom lens, and I couldn't miss a chance to test it as well. My Fujifilm XH2S has a crop sensor of 1.5, which means the original focal length of the lenses will be affected. 24 will become around 35, 50 around 75, and 35-105 around 50-160, which of course offers us a great amount of coverage. Or we can use a speed booster or focal reducer, which can help us get close to original focal length on a crop sensor. When I tested 24 and 50mm for the first time, I saw a big difference in color between the two. And honestly, I was disappointed, because before I was so spoiled by the color accuracy of Carl Zeiss Jenas and contact Zeiss. They were just perfect in colors. And I expected the same from Canon FDs. Well, turns out they're not. So I decided to sell 24mm and replace it with a 28. Since the 35-105 matched the 50, it made sense to keep them. And that brings us to a big disadvantage of Canon FD lenses: color inconsistency between the lenses, even from the same generation. It's kind of mix and match. But let's not this stop us from testing Canon FD lenses that are loved by so many photographers and filmmakers. And that's what I told myself and continued my experiment. I did some research about focal reducers and found Lens Turbo 2. As I discovered from my test, it not only provides close to the original field of view, it also improves the sharpness and helps reduce chromatic aberrations. Now let me introduce you to my Canon FD lens setup. I have 28mm f2.8 SC, 50mm f1.4 SSC, and 35-105mm f3.5 zoom. I have standard adapter, focal reducer, as well as step-up rings for the ND filter. The total price for 3 lenses, 2 adapters, with taxes and shipping was $365. These lenses are extremely affordable. They have smooth focus rings, at least my copies do. They produce very nice warm image and beautiful flares. I also want to mention some of the best Canon FD lenses ever made, with much better optical quality and of course much higher price. We have 24mm f1.4 SSC, 28mm f2 SSC, 35mm f2 concave SSC, 55mm f1.2 SSC, and 85mm f1.2 SSC. These lenses produce outstanding results based on the reviews I've seen, but they are expensive. So my advice to you, if you are interested in Canon FDs, get some cheap ones, test them out and see if they work for you. And then you can decide if it makes sense for you to invest money. Let's get back to my lenses. When I received 28mm, I realized it's not SSC, it's the older version SC. And when I compared it to my 50mm SSC, I was surprised, because the two produce, if not identical, they are very close in image quality. The colors looks pretty much the same to me. So the real question is there actual difference between SC and SSC coating? If you know anything about it, please let me know in the comments. 28mm f2.8 SC. This lens provides you a wide field of view so you can fit so much in a frame. It's great for handheld shots and pretty soft wide open, or it can be just my copy. Over the weekend I was exploring a harbor and tested this lens by filming cool fishing boats. My aperture was set to f8 and I got some good footage. So majority of the time I would suggest keeping the aperture at f8 or f11. 50mm f1.4 SSC is one of the best 50mm of its time. Sharp, easy to operate, produces beautiful colors, very nice bokeh. With focal reducer it becomes sharp even at f1.4. The image this lens produces looks so natural and pleasing to my eyes. I can honestly say that Canon FD 50mm f1.4 SSC is one of the best vintage lenses I've ever used. 35-105 f3.5 zoom is a very useful lens. I call it a lens for additional coverage, when you can easily go from wide angle to a telephoto without changing lenses. It's very convenient for run and gun filming, especially when you don't have much time. There is some difference in color between the zoom lens and the 28 with 50, but you can easily correct it in post to match the other two. Additionally, this lens becomes parafocal when you set the aperture at f8 or higher. It's not heavy and feels very balanced. As the downside, I will probably point out the rotating barrel. You can't use VND because it acts as a polarizer, but you can easily fix this issue by attaching a fixed ND filter. Overall, I have no complaints about my Canon FD lenses. Lightweight, good color rendition, flares, and especially affordability. So why don't we take these lenses outside and film something good? Let me know in the comments what you think. To summarize, I wanna share with you what I like and don't like about Canon FD lenses in general based on my experience. What I like the most about Canon FD lenses is the image quality and character they produce. It looks a little dreamy and honestly I really like that. Canon FD lenses considered to be optically close to famous Canon K35 cinema lenses that were used in movies like American Hustle, Manchester by the Sea, and TV shows like Westworld and Handmaid's Tale, and many others. So it tells you a little bit about the image quality these lenses produce. The biggest thing I don't like about Canon FD lenses is of course color inconsistency I mentioned before. It's a big disadvantage when you want to build a set, and sometimes you just have to guess whether the new lens will match the colors of the lenses you already have. Besides that, Canon FD lenses are great. You can easily adapt them to your mirrorless camera or cinema camera and get amazing results. Well, that was my opinion about Canon FD lenses. My experience with them has been mostly good so far. The reason I said mostly is because I had to return one good lens that had fungus inside, and I'm still trying to fix the other one as a project. I'm gonna talk more about it in my summarized video about using vintage lenses, their pros, cons, difficulties that you might encounter, and stuff like that. I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it useful, so make sure to press like, leave a comment, and of course subscribe to the channel. It's been a pleasure and I will see you next time. Bye.